All right, if you're tuning into this video, I'm going to need you to put your seatbelt on. It's not the first time I've ever said that, but this is going to be a bit of a wild ride. And I'm still, it's like in the middle of the night, and I'm under the, fluorescent glow of my 27 monitors trying to figure out if this is actually legit or not. But far as I can tell, unless I'm being fooled by some actually very official looking, like British websites, I think this is legit. And if it is, it's just hilariously dumb. I mean, this is one of those things where I feel like everybody can come together to laugh at how stupid something is. If what I think is happening is actually happening. Now, if you are not familiar with the Scottish League, then you really are missing out. I don't know why, but growing up, the Scottish League, like the Scottish Premiership, was on these kind of secondary channels in the United States, like Fox Soccer Channel or something, but we had the extensive sports package in my household. It was my brothers and I and my dad. We always watched a ton of sports. So we had the most expansive sports package in cable back in the day. And I would just be browsing the channels in the middle of the night. Not much has changed, clearly. And I would find replays of the Scottish League. And it's great. I mean, there is a sort of the primal tribalism that goes on in the Scottish League that is just fantastic. All of the teams hate Celtic. Celtic hates all of the teams. Rangers was there, and then they weren't. It was kind of that period, and then they came back, and then I went to college and didn't have the full cable package anymore, so I guess that was kind of it. But I would watch those matches, and they were fantastic. I mean, yeah, it's not the best league in the world, but it was fun. At the time, it was definitely better than MLS, and you're like, it was a good time, right? So I always had a special place in my heart for the Scottish League. Just from that, and I mean, I did my first Football Manager save that I ever did was in the Scottish League. I picked Celtic. I figured it'd be easy because they were always beating everybody all the time. I was right. And that's probably what got me hooked on the game. And I felt comfortable doing that because I recognized all the names of the teams from watching the damn games when I was growing up the whole time. But there's one of those teams that's named, whose names I would instantly recognize, Inverness Caledonian Thistle. Which, it's a bit of a mouthful, but fun team. They were in the top flight, and as recently as 2015, they won the entire Scottish Cup, which is the FA Cup, but in Scotland. Okay. But they've recently fallen on hard times. Obviously, considering we just made the Bordeaux video, they are not the only club that has done that. And what Inverness has done is they have plummeted down to the third division. They have newly landed in the third division of Scotland, which is a pretty abrupt fall from winning the biggest cup in the country 9 years ago. And that is obviously going to be accompanied by, because that's just the way this stuff always seems to work, significant financial struggles, right? A club that is hanging over the ledge of becoming the Bordeaux of Scotland, right? Becoming a club that is going to have to enter into some sort of financial administration, bankruptcy, restructuring, whatever you want to call it, that's going to really set that club back a long way. That is something that they are currently very worried about at Inverness Caledonian Thistle after bouncing down to the Scottish third division. Now, they've been entertaining a bunch of interesting ideas. Like, according to Sky Sports, they were going to try and move their training ground down from the Highlands of Scotland, where Inverness is, down to Fife, which is apparently like 140 miles away or something crazy like that. Which was going to help them cut costs and maybe help them attract players. Like, they were struggling to convince players to want to go play in the Highlands of Scotland, which I don't know what anybody's talking about. The Highlands of Scotland are basically the setting of the movie Skyfall when James Bond goes home. That place is awesome. I love the Highlands. I am also built like a polar bear, so I feel like maybe that's why I'm so comfortable in that sort of environment, and other people are just freezing their ass off the whole time. But you know what? I'll go play for Inverness if they want me to. It's a lovely part of the country, and I really enjoy it. But all that cost-cutting stuff didn't really work out. And then, all of a sudden, you start to get articles like this one. Inverness Caledonian Thistle accept offer for new majority shareholder to secure future. Now, this is the Sky Sports article that had to do with this particular topic, and it obviously strikes a tone of optimism. Now, that tone of optimism comes from the official statement from the board, because, why the fuck would they look any further into this than just reading the official statement from the board at this point? I mean, this is just like your breaking news thing. We have received a formal offer to acquire a major shareholding and voting rights of the company, and this has been unanimously accepted. Ketan Makwana, remember that name, the executive chair of 77 Ventures, which, I'm just going to pause here, right? I'm not even going to continue with the rest of the story. We're going to take a second and just look at the name of 77 Ventures. I don't know if you've ever seen, right? I don't know if you've ever seen Parks and Recreation. the TV show. If you haven't, give me a sec. If you have, I'm about to make a connection for you. Something about the 77 Ventures, the way that it's stylistically written as 70 and then the letter 7, just triggers this kind of this visceral connection with Entertainment 720 from Parks and Recreation, which, by the way, if you've not watched Parks and Recreation, I would consider it a top 3 favorite show of all time. Totally would recommend checking it out if you've got, like, I don't know, a month and a half of free time to kill or something. But I'm just going to be honest. No self-respecting company founded by somebody over the age of 12 is going to brand their company 77 Ventures with a written out word 70 and then the letter 7. I mean, that is the sort of thing that when you're 13 and you're running your little sister's lemonade stand and your mom's making you pretend to create an LLC, this is the name you come up with. 77 Ventures. I like just seeing the name. You have to know this shit's a scam. If you don't, you need like internet sensitivity training. You got to have a nose for this. You get an email that says contact from 77 Ventures. I'm putting it in my junk before I even open and read it because I value my time. We continue. They have been has been the most dynamic suitor for the club in the past few weeks, and following the most recent meeting with him in Inverness, this being Ketan Makwana, when he outlined his vision and passion for what the club could become, it was clear those plans and the financial backing of 77 Ventures will give Inverness the opportunity to flourish again. So optimistic wording here, right? In saying that they were they made it sound like they'd been entertaining multiple proposals and that this was the best one and that they had decided to accept it. This is very good news for the club, and we strive to establish a more sustainable business and build a team that will, in the first instance, return to the SPFL championship. So that's the board statement, and it's optimistic. It's very uplifting. It makes it sound like it's some sort of success story and that this Makwana guy is coming in to save the club from its inevitable demise, which is great. Makwana released a statement. It's noted in part, we are relishing the opportunity to drive the sustainability and growth in the club and lead them to future prosperity. Cool. That everything in that article checks out. Everything that you see there, you would be thinking, great. He also said stuff like, in their official tweet about this, we appreciate the continuous workability and open-mindedness of the board to see our vision of the future for the football club. Like, okay, cool. I mean, definitely broke out the thesaurus for that one, but cool. Now, the first comment that you see on this post is this guy ? With a link to a website which is called findandupdate.company-information.services.gov.uk. So this is an official UK government website providing information about individuals with companies. It looks like it was written on Microsoft in 2004, so I'm assuming it is a legit website that has to do with this stuff. You can, click on other, like it's a functioning website. If I want to look up Nike and find their address in the UK, like I actually can do that. And there is a page on this guy named Ketan Makwana. The problem is everything else on the page. So, I've never met this guy. I'm not going to pretend to be some sort of expert on Makwana's life, but I know how most people happen to live their lives, and it usually doesn't involve being the director of a bunch of companies that sound made up, all of which he resigned from, and companies that a significant number of companies that are dissolved, including Ketan Makwana Consulting Limited, Mass Appeal Media Limited. He resigned from director role at the AMS Academy Group Limited. He was no longer the director of Pinky Strategies Limited. That dissolved. Smofo Limited. He was the director. That dissolved. Nitio Limited. He was the director. It dissolved. 77 Media Limited. He was the director. It dissolved. If you're thinking, wait, isn't that the name of the company? Don't worry. There's 77 Ventures. You clearly weren't paying attention to the name of it before, which is still active, of which he is the director of. And then when you click on 77 Ventures, you can literally go to people that are affiliated with it, and there's only 2, which is not a lot for a company that is buying a club like Inverness Caledonian Thistle. And the only 2 people listed here are not both employed with the company. Michael Aaron Jacobson was the director, and then he resigned. at which point Ketan Makwana became the director. There are no other listed current officers for this company at all. So you would assume that Ketan Makwana would have to do a lot, which might be a little hard considering he is also listed as the active director of Cryptolitx. I don't know why. With an American accent. Cryptolites, maybe? I don't know. He's the active director of something with crypto in the name, which just gives me hives. He's the active director of I Am for Change CIC, the active director of Eli App Limited. He's the active director of Enterprise Lab Limited. I don't know why he keeps limiting himself with all these companies. The fun thing about this website is that apparently you have to submit your balance sheet as well, which you can literally click on. You just go to filing history and it sees micro company accounts and you click view PDF and you go to this page. And you can literally see that this company in 2023 had negative 16,000 pounds in capital and reserves, which was its net liabilities. Its total assets were also negative because, they owe creditors $42,567. There's nothing on here. There's literally not a single number on here that would indicate that this is the type of company that would be capable of purchasing, like, the lemonade stand I was talking about earlier, let alone an actual professional football club that needs significant financial investment in order to survive. I mean, I'm not talking millions of dollars here, but needs something six figures and up to be able to just cover operating costs. There's nothing in six figures here, and there's a lot of negative numbers, brother. And it lists that Michael Aaron Jacobson, the person that was the director before, was terminated on September 21st, which means this guy's been in charge of this company for less than a year. So every single thing about this just smells rotten and absolutely ridiculous. And a Twitter account called Scotland's Coefficient also managed to find all of this stuff, including identifying the company address, which looks like the home that a British grandmother would be living in, not the office of the company that will be buying Inverness Caledonian Thistle. Now, if I, on my ass at 1:30 in the morning, can figure all of this shit out in 15 to 20 minutes because somebody tagged me in it on Twitter, then I'm assuming Inverness Caledonian Thistle is doing one of two things here. They are either doing a ridiculous, embarrassing lack of due diligence, or they are just some legal way trying to pass off the financial burden of Inverness onto some unsuspecting idiot that happens to be running this club, and for some reason he has deluded himself into thinking that he at least his company in some ways has the financial resources in order to handle this, and he is just going to end up with a whole heaping hot steaming pile of liability. Maybe Inverness's board, which unanimously voted to improve this person, this person, that guy. That's him, by the way, Ketan Makwana, right there. They've voted unanimously to give this guy, the chairman of 77 Ventures, the control of Inverness. So it's got to be one of those two things, right? I have no other logical explanation for why a room of decently educated human beings would decide to sell the majority of shares in their company to somebody that I'm assuming has spun a good story. But you make that assumption, and then you listen to him speak. And I want to be clear. This is what I was tagged in for some reason. This is what somebody tagged me in on Twitter, and it is just hilarious. This has nothing to do with Inverness. This is just a window into the mind of this man.
The next 5 to 10 years, in my opinion, the word phygital is going to be coming into place. Now, for anyone, that doesn't really understand what phygital means, it's a cross between physical and digital. Phygital.
I see.
The reaction of this interviewer that realizes he is not getting paid enough to do his job. Phygital. I don't really... this has nothing to do with Inverness, but I'm just pretty... Okay. Yeah, I'm just making sure my phone still works and that I can physically interact with something that's digital. Does that make it, is that phygital? Maybe like a nice Apple Watch or the computer that I'm speaking to you through. Maybe that's phygital too. I have no idea. But look, as a person that has grown up in an era watching my grandparents get scammed, right? The alarm bells start ringing the moment this guy opens his mouth. I don't know. Maybe his parents are billionaires and he actually has the money to be able to pull this off. But I feel like if his parents were billionaires, he wouldn't be the former head of 15 dissolved companies. He would be able to at least, if he could throw money at something, why not throw it at all of the companies he's been director of that have already dissolved? Okay, so this situation is headed Mach 5 towards disaster because remember, this is official. This is not like a rumor and like a close call. The board has unanimously voted, according to the club Twitter account, to give the actual control of the club to Mr. Fidgetal over here and his company, which is worth negative money. Or maybe one of his other companies. Feel free to peruse this incredibly riveting website to just check this guy out. Maybe you could pay a visit to the incredibly aesthetically pleasing corporate offices of 77 Media Limited Incorporated, whatever the fuck rest was part of the name. I don't know. It looks like they've got a nice reception area for you to hang out on the gravel out front. So you might be able to go there and maybe have a word or something. Look, I have a hard time believing this is real because it is so transparently, catastrophically stupid. But literally everything I can find is saying it's real. I actually was able to find his Twitter. It looks like his Twitter. It's posted videos of him that I can't find anywhere else. It is a suspiciously ratioed Twitter account. He follows nearly 3,400 people and has 4,500 followers. He doesn't have a tweet that's gotten over 10 likes in the last 5 years, as far as I can tell. Not that he uses it much anymore, but his last tweet was, will 2024 be the year that I get into the business of football? Fun. Which brings me to this last tweet from SPFL Media Watch that says he's tried to buy a number of different clubs, including Hayes and Yetting. I have no way to confirm that at all. But who is doing the due diligence on these deals? No one. Unless there's something that we did not look at in this video, literally no one. Not even what's his name? Not even Ketan Makwana's done due diligence on this deal. I can't tell you if he's scamming Inverness or himself more. I have no idea, right? But based on everything I can find in the middle of the night, this is nuts. This is nuts. This is crazy. Tell me I'm not crazy for what is happening here. Real people are doing these things.